YouTuber slash live streamer Destiny prides himself on being a Mr. Hot Take. But the thing about hot takes is that it implies some validity and substance to the opinion when really Destiny is just an idiot. Today, I am here to discuss one such hot take that is really just an objectively false, bad science. Now, I want to be clear before moving on. I do not know exactly where and when he said this. I've heard a lot of wrong things come out of this man's mouth. And I'm not talking wrong thing. I'm talking just objective nonsense, which his lack of self-awareness will not allow him to keep sealed away inside of his tiny little mind. Incest. Oh, God. And why it's bad. Explained. A lot of my previous topic will inform this topic, so if you haven't yet watched my last video, I will put a card link thing up in the corner as well as in the description below, and also at the end of the video in the end screen. You could either open these up in a tab, like the one down below or the one up here, open them up in another tab and watch that first and then come back to this one. Don't close this window, because I've done that before and usually you just don't go back to it. Or you can just wait to the end, click the end screen link, watch the other video, and just let your brain machine do the sorting. If you're good at asymmetrical knowledge processing like I am. Now, when I say incest is bad, you need to understand that I'm talking about this from the genetic standpoint, not the family structure standpoint. So, step-siblings are off the table for this discussion. Why incest is bad does not pertain in any way to stepchildren. If you are only related by marriage, there could be weirdness, but that is entirely social, societal construct nonsense. If you want to fall in love with your stepsister or your stepcousin and make all the babies, go right ahead. I don't care. I'll crack jokes about it, but at the end of the day, there's really nothing wrong with it from an objective scientific standpoint. This also applies to adopted siblings as well. And there's also removals to consider, and you'll understand why that is in a moment. So the most simple incest pairing that people think of is brother and sister. The one represents family groups, okay? So when you have somebody from family group 1 and family group 1, that is what most people think of when they think of incest. Next you have like cousins, first cousins in particular. So I'm gonna call them family group 1 and family group 1.2. The reason why I call them family group 1.2 is because they're kind of removed from the first family group by the addition of other genetic information. And that is the important part. It all comes back to genetic diversity. You want all the fancy squiggly lines in your genome as opposed to just a bunch of straight lines. You need it to be as complex as possible because that is a good thing. That is what's going to make you a healthy species. Let's say that family group 1 is all zigzag lines or squiggly lines or whatever in their genome. Their children are going to be the same. They're going to have all the squiggly lines. Now let's say family group 1.2 has mixed with somebody who's all straight lines. You had some from 1 and someone from 2. 2 was all straight lines. And of course, you know, group 1 is the squiggly lines. So the product of group 2 is going to be kind of a mix. You're going to have squiggly lines and then whatnot. And then of course, the person from group 1 is going to be back to the squiggly line. So the product of these two is going to be like something a little bit more in between this and that. See what's going on here? So you're kind of diluting this with this and then kind of further diluting this with more of this. So you're still removed from the original pairing where it's just all squiggly lines, but you're still kind of getting back to where it's further being limited by mixing. So first cousins typically are not a good pairing, but that assumes they've introduced information from outside of the group. The social understanding of what cousins is a cousin is your parents' sibling's child. Now, if your parents' sibling's child is the product of a sibling incestual relationship, from a genetic standpoint, there really is no removal at all between cousins. The children of an incestuous pairing are cousins themselves. They're both siblings and first cousins. So the fact that it was two different siblings from this original sibling group that produced these children, so you're not brother and sister in any way, half or full, is unimportant because from a genetic variety standpoint, from genetic diversity, there is no difference in what they have been constructed from. They're still just your grandparents, remixed in all sorts of ways. So to illustrate this, you have black person and white person, okay? And they have 4 children. Because of whatever reasons, maybe they're just a weird family, or maybe they've been trapped on a desert island or isolated somehow and they don't have anybody else to mate with. These two get together and these two get together and produce offspring. Now the offspring are going to be only connected by the original parents. There's no sibling relationship here, so they are cousins. Now if instead this group had 2 children, they would be siblings. Sib, because I don't feel like spelling out the entire word. And then they would be cousins. Only. But then these two are also cousins. Minus the only. Because their parents were also... No, wrong one. Were also siblings. So they're both cousins and siblings. But then they are only siblings. But the genetic variety between the entire family group is the same. There is no straight lines. There's only the squiggles going on. Now, of course, mutations could happen. That's where all genetic diversity comes from in the first place. But there isn't really going to be enough of them in a few generations to produce healthy variety, especially if you are intermixing in such close family ties. Now, there's all sorts of reasons why this is bad from a chromosomal standpoint, but I really don't know enough about genetics to talk about that. You could do your own research about how sibling pairs and cousin pairs have an increased risk of genetic abnormality, like Down syndrome, for example, or those disorders where a person's born with a little arm and then a regular arm and little fingers, or no feet, things like that. Those usually pop up at a much higher rate in incestuous pairings than in healthy, genetically diverse pairings from different family groups. But so I'm gonna stick with the discussion I was kind of having in the last video about genetic diseases. And this is one where history has given us one of the greatest case studies of all time. In the royal family that everybody was sick as hell. Let's say your family has the genetic... Did a spider just fall on me? Predisposition for ALS or obsessive compulsive disorder, which introduces the odds of having Tourette syndrome, as I do, regular, oh, did I say OCD? Sorry, that's a C. Actual, just straight up OCD, or even attention deficit disorder. This is really the same genetic trait. It's not really OCD specifically. It kind of just becomes one of these things, and it might not even become anything. It could also become nothing. So let's say your family has that and or that. If someone in your family mixes with somebody from outside of your family who has a bunch of other things, completely separate set of genetic traits. So you got 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s in family 1, and then in family 2 you got 5s, 6s, 7s, and 8s, and then you combine them, and you're only gonna get 4 of these. You could have 1, 6, 8, and 3. But if you only mix 1, 2, 3, and 4, you're only gonna get 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if you only mix 5, 6, 7, and 8, you're only going to get 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now, if 5 is ALS and 4 is OCD, then the child of this pairing does not have OCD or ALS because the trait is gone. Or at the very least, it has been swept under the rug. And this is kind of why you want more genetic diversity, because all of these numbers are still going to be in this person's hard copy. It's going to be buried in their big old genetic library. But their body, like the formation of who they are, their genes, do not contain 4 or 5, meaning they will never get OCD or ALS. Now, they could have a child with someone else who does end up with them because the traits still exist there, but there is a further lessening chance of ALS and OCD the more they mix outside of people with these disorders. So now this person who is 1, 6, 8, 3, but does contain 4 and 5, and mix them with somebody who is 10, 11, 12, and 13, and 12 is dwarfism. and they have a child together, and that child ends up being 10, 8, 13, 6. This person, the child of the dwarf, and this other healthy person is not going to have OCD, ALS, or dwarfism. It's not there. But the genetic code, the genetic information is still buried in their genome. So they could then, the person who is 10, 8, 13, 6 might pair with somebody who is 14, 15, 16, 17, and then because this does exist somewhere in them, the child could end up being 15, 8, 13, and then 12. The 12 just pops up unexpectedly, randomly. The odds of it coming up are very slim because there's so much more genetic information there, but it's still a, you have how many, I don't even remember how many different traits we have, but you get the idea. Like, if you have like a 1 in 100 chance of getting a 15, but you also have a 1 in 100 chance of getting a 12, the 12 might pop up and boom, you're a dwarf. Or the 4 might pop up and boom, you have OCD. Or the 5 might pop up and boom, you have ALS. Sorry about that. So the more genetic information you have, the less likely all of these little genetic aberrations are going to be an issue. Because instead of being this very homogeneous family group with only one very limited set of genes and therefore traits that correspond to genetic diseases, you have a lot of things coming into the mix, which could be not just something else that'll pop up instead of ALS, but it could be frickin' genius level IQ, or really tall, or skinny, or OCD. So the child, instead of being a dwarf with ALS, it could end up being a tall, skinny genius with OCD. And that's it. Not the entire thing. Like I said, there's a lot other small, like more chromosomal anomaly reasons. But as far as mixing traits are concerned, this is why you want more genetic diversity. And this is why incest is bad. Because if you have a dwarf and a dwarf, they're gonna make a dwarf. But if you have a dwarf and a tall person, person might be tall. And I'm not saying that dwarfs are bad people, but it is something that nobody should really want to be or want their children to be, because it is a disadvantage in life. You should still love your child if they're born a dwarf, and you shouldn't tell them, well, you can't reproduce, because they got all these other traits. It's a thing that most people carry, the trait for dwarfism, but they've got all these other traits mixed in. Just like most people carry the genius for tall people, but the vast majority of people are going to give birth to idiots. And whatever is already established, there's always going to be a higher odds of the things that pop up popping up again. And this is where dominant traits versus recessive traits comes into play. Tall might be recessive, so suddenly this guy ain't tall anymore, he's short because it's a recessive gene, and this one over here is like, nope, my turn, I go first always. And this guy just might get uppity, really, really uppity, and be like, well, no, I want to be here, I want to be up front. So every once in a while, recessive genes are just going to tell the dominant genes to just go the heck home, it's my turn to shine. But that's not always going to be the case, and usually whatever is already present is going to usually be what's dominant. I'm rambling. I've kind of already gone over everything. I hope this video was helpful. I'll try and edit it down to be more concise and to the point. Thank you for watching. Be sure to give this video a like if you liked it. A like if you didn't like it. Comment below, preferably with a suggestion. What is his name? The person who suggested this video. I don't even have a... Yeah, you gotta get off my lap, cat. I had a cat on my lap for like this entire friggin' video. Do subscribes on the bird. And follows on the Instagram, and notifications on the play button with the bell. Here's Jolly. I do have a YouTube channel called Here's Jolly, but don't subscribe to that. Don't even look at that. That's an embarrassment to the human race. Subscribe to this one, or Adam Kearley Internet Celebrity. You can subscribe to that one, though I haven't uploaded to it in months. I'm probably not going to link to that below, but you can probably find it just by typing my name. Have a nice day and smiley face.